All right. Says I'm live. I always like to check to make sure I'm not just talking to no one, to make sure I am live. Well, I'm going to assume I'm live. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. And if you can, that's awesome. And we shall proceed. I know sometimes it takes a moment for the. Yep. All right. It seems as if we are good. Going to turn on Dwight Muhammad Quayi versus James Salerno in the background here. We're going to get to it. Secretive Plotter looks like they're ready to rock, hopefully. Tell you what I will do here is I'll also have my chats pulled up on the phone, just in case it updates faster. All right. Hope everyone had a good weekend. For American folks, it was the 4th of July. I know we got a lot of folks here from a lot of different places, so maybe not everyone's rocking that. Ziku 45. Yes, good old Quayi. Yeah, man. Dwight Muhammad Quayi, the shortest light heavyweight in the history of boxing. Light heavyweight champion in the history of boxing. Very much a fan of his style. Obviously, he started boxing late. So not only was he short, and that's a disadvantage typically, but also he started boxing late. Of course, you have to have a lot of special attributes to be short and starting late at boxing. See, Dwight, one thing I love about him too, because he was older, is it's a more conservative style. There's not a lot of jumping around. He's slowly cutting down the ring. You know, it's not this uber. Like when I started boxing, me being a shorter person, and like not a lot of new people when they get into boxing, they want to box like Mike Tyson, and that's not somebody to box like. And unless you're built like Mike Tyson, you got the power like Mike Tyson, and like I talk about in the videos when we go through and study through. Not that there's things to, not that you need to dismiss him or not learn things from him, but you also don't have the world-class management that he had as well. Guys like Dwight Braxton, you could say he really came up the tough way. I mean, he was in Rahway State Penitentiary for 5 years, and you know, I'm sure some things worked out in his favor, obviously, but he also was prepared. And when luck meets preparedness, that's what you call opportunity. Or rather, when luck meets opportunity, that's what you call, sorry, when preparedness, gosh, long day for me, excuse me, blah. When preparedness meets opportunity, that's what you call luck. Zuku, how's your training going, man? Sounds like I'm like freaking drunk or something. Just a long, hot day here in Georgia. By the way, watch out for my book coming out this coming Monday. What is up? Hello. What's up, Secretive Plotter? We have my book coming out July 14th, so not this Monday, but the following Monday. Keep an eye out for that. The Ringside Secrets, or Boxing Secrets, 66 Strategies and Tactics to outthink and outfight your opponent. So it's a book I spent a lot of time on, a couple of years on, and I'm really excited about it. So keep an eye out for that on Amazon when it premieres, and watch out. I'll put links out everywhere, and it's going to be very, very informative for a lot of people. I'm out of the gym for a while, but still studying in shadowboxing, planning to get the book when it drops. Awesome, Zuku. You're the man. Yeah, very excited for it. I've gone through like a lot of revisions of the book. I cut out some stuff. I added some stuff to get it refined to the most important things that I felt people needed to learn and gain from it. No fluff, no just stupid stories that aren't that helpful. You know, so if you like a book that's full of stories and things that kind of don't really relate to the topic matter, and that isn't really meaty, then don't buy the book. If you like things that are really meaty, straight to the point, and cut the bullshit, then definitely need to check out this book. Love that we got Quayi here playing in the background. I need to do more fight studies on him. Yes, thank you. I really appreciate it. And the great achievement comes if it helps anybody, right? If. finishing things is not that great, but to finish something that has an impact is what is great. I appreciate those secretive plotter. Now look at Kwai going after this guy James Salerno. Salerno. Yep. Slowly cutting down that ring. Beautiful stuff. What's the craziest thing that happened to me in my gym? That's a good question. It's going to take some thought because I don't spend a lot of time thinking about random crazy stuff. But, I mean, a dog that we ended up adopting and having for the rest of that dog's life, like 12 years, something like that actually just passed away this year. Chiquita, Chihuahua Pug Mix, she came into my gym in 2014. And I guess we had her for, 11 years. And just ran up right in the ring. That was crazy. I remember back in that day, I had someone drunk come and they wanted to spar my Golden Glove super heavyweight champion, and I let them. I wouldn't do that nowadays, ever. Let's see, I've kicked a lot of people out. And I'm trying to think of, I'm pretty proud of all of the crazy things that I avoid. My dad definitely had way more crazy stories because of the characters that he would have in the gym and things like that. I was a lot more selective. Yeah, running a blank on. I'm sure there's stories. One story though, I've told us before, is this one guy that was supposed to have a fight. I was helping these MMA guys out, and it was not long after I stopped boxing, and I was working the guy's defense, and they told me to go a little bit hard on him. So I broke his rib, working his defense a little bit, and he got out of the fight. That he didn't need to fight anyway because he had a ridiculous strategy going into it. Yeah, I don't have a lot of good stories, man. See, I'm very, to me, I know people like stories, and this is where I kind of have a feeling. What's up, Rusty? Is that people like stories, but I actually don't like stories. It's weird, right? I frankly don't give a crap about stories. What I care about is like what's some information that people can give me that I can use to do something. So this is why it's like, man, I don't deal well with people that like to, chirp along with stories and blah, 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 blah. I'm just like, bro, like, what's the point of the story? Oh, there's no point in the story? Done. Okay. So, and that's why I don't spend a lot of time thinking about. So sorry, I promise you, I'm not trying to give you like some flack here, Goofy. I appreciate the question, but that's just seriously how my mind works. Is, dude, I think about, what can be learned from something. So here, I'll give you the last one here, while hopefully some boxing technique questions come in. So I got into it with Caleb Plant long before he was. Yeah, I did him a favor, exactly. Yeah, man. See, and in boxing and combat sports, it's better to give than receive. But I got into it with Caleb Plant before he ever got big. He came down to spar, be a part of Demetrius Andrade's training camp, or Andrade, however you say his name. Oh, there's Floyd Patterson ringside. And he was giving my pro guy a lot of trouble. And he was doing this tactic where he was walking away. Caleb was, like doing some shots, kind of walking away, looking away, and it was freezing my guy up. So my guy wasn't really attacking. And I got frustrated. I was a newer coach at the time. We're talking like 2013, 14. And I said something to him. He said something to me, and, we almost got into it. Oh, that reminds me. So like the getting into it thing. So this is actually kind of recent, the past year and a half. This wasn't in my gym. This was another gym. I've had people like pull guns out and stuff like that. Not in my gym, in other gyms we've been at. Not on me with the gun thing, but this one thing happened to me. What's up, Gunner? So this one coach had his kid, like his son, boxing, and his son was like a poor man's version of Nassim Hamed, right? And he was hot dogging around and giving like this one guy a little bit of trouble. And so my guy went in there and started piecing up the kid and really locked in. I was really proud of my guy for locking in and figuring him out. And, I did my best to help him figure it out. Oh, actually, Floyd Patterson's in the corner working with the guy. And So, and I was calling the kid Champ, right? His son, Champ. So something like Champ. And the dad got offended because his son's getting beat up, and I guess he thought it was condescending or whatever. And the father was like, you know, were you a champ? I was a champ. Were you a champion? Just talking to me. I was like, no, I was not a champion. He's like, well, I was a champion. He said some crap. And then he's like, how about you and I, box or whatever. And at first I'm like, man, it's a crowded gym. So we're here to spar and we're here to get work. We don't need to waste time for coaches sparring. No, that's not what I'm here for. It's not what I'm here for. I'm here to help my guys get work. So anyway, he's saying his thing, and I'm across the ring from him. And then I'm like, man, you know what? Like, I just walked, slid in through the rope, walked over to him. I'm inside the ring. He's outside the ring. I walk over to him like, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? He just kept talking. And then, my guys got in the ring, that whole separation thing. But I was like, dude, like, shut the hell up. Shut the hell up. So much of people just talk. And that's where it's like, it's a sign of insecurity when people are mouthing off a lot. That's something that's important thing to remember. I remind my guys of that. And I'm reminded of that. I wish I would have known that more when I boxed. But when people are mouthing off a lot, it's because they're trying to compensate for something. And that's an important thing to remember if people mouthing off ever bothers you. So we're going to get into it. Oh, here's a question. What was your motivation for boxing? And you're learning jiu-jitsu now. Why did you want to learn it? Cool. Oh, man, great question. So motivation for learning boxing. It's funny because like you'll share these stories and you think everyone knows, but, most people don't because they have their own lives and everything. So, I was around boxing my entire life because of my father, but I was never really into it. Then, but it was always in the background. Like my dad would bring over fighters. He would train fighters in the backyard. He had a gym for a while, different places. All of that. It was in the background. He'd have maybe people fight on like TV and things like that, and I'd be aware of it. And like Chuck Bodak would make all this like crazy stuff, like trinkets and stuff, and send it to my dad, or my dad would go out to California or whatever, come back with it. So it's just this interesting, colorful, crazy thing in the background. But I was never really into it. And boxed a couple times when I was like 9 or 10, like sparred, but just it wasn't my thing. So I then got really sick, and with Lyme disease, didn't know what was wrong with me. And from like 6th grade on to about age 17, declining health. When I was about 17 or so, I was kind of starting to play with wanting to get into boxing because at that time, Forrest Griffin, who was from Athens, Georgia, who was trained by my father in terms of boxing, not something to be super proud of because he was just mainly a brawler. But Forrest would spar with all my dad's boxers and things like that. And so would his coaches, Rory and Adam. And so they would train in our backyard and things like that. So when Forrest blew up and won the Ultimate Fighter back in whenever that was, early 2000s, I was like, whoa, man, that kind of lit something in my mind when something like that, someone in your universe does something like that. And so that inspired me to wanting to get into combat sports. And initially I wanted to do MMA, but then I was like, let me train my father first. And that was a field of diamonds in my own backyard. And started working with him. He and a friend and myself were working with my dad, and we were like training partners with each other. My dad would work with us one-on-one, and I fell in love with boxing, fell in love with the history of boxing. And of course, my dad being so passionate about boxing and being a good teacher, it allowed for he and I to get close together. And my dad said that those were the greatest years he ever had. So that's how I got into that. And then why I got into jiu-jitsu is because I merged gyms, my Athens gym with another company, and they do jiu-jitsu and everything else. And jiu-jitsu is a great art form. I have a lot of respect for it. My wife, did a lot of jiu-jitsu. She fought MMA, Muay Thai, and boxing, and always had respect for it. Never had any experience with it, so got into it. And it's a great thing to get into in your older years. And I'm beyond sparring right now with boxing, but getting in the jiu-jitsu is a great way to have that combat feel, but you can like slow down the action. Whereas in boxing, there can be like a split-second change that someone punches you and really rocks you. Jiu-jitsu is a little bit different. It's a little bit different. Great question. Do you plan to ever post a study of Montel Griffith? His fight with James Toney are great. Or his fights, 2 fights. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I've thought about looking into that. That's a good one. Nothing on the docket, but that wouldn't be a bad one to look at. Is James Toney fights with Montel. I know some other channel did some talk on that. My coach was a Big Bear was at Big Bear with Triple G. The second Canelo fight had sparring had a guy sparring Triple G. He said what separated G more than anything was his focus. How can we train that? That's such a great question. And like you guys saw in my daily life, my pro girl I'm working with, she sparred with Clarissa and Clarissa Shields, and same thing, man. Super focused. How can we train that? Well, as Bodak would say, like winning is a habit, and my dad was like, well, how do you create that habit? He was like, well, if you figure that out, you'll be a champion. And so what I think it rolls down to is, or boils down to, is somebody's mental just discipline, and there's many ways to arrive at it. Some people are kind of just, they fall into it almost. They have that burning desire to win and succeed, and that drives it into them. Or they get around people that also have that mindset, so it's able to rub off on them. And it is really helpful. It is really helpful to go around a person. So again, like Triple G or whoever, and to see it firsthand, because to see it on video is not the same. It's really not the same. It's like you guys know, when you see boxing live and in person, it's just not the same. Beautiful jab cut off by Kwai there, combination, but it's just not the same. So anyway, this is where things like visualization, I believe, are some of the things that help you short circuit that or overcome that if you don't have that extreme focus. And then also just being mindful of it, being mindful when you're in there sparring, when you're in there in fights, being very aware and being focused in your training. And also that's where a coach comes into play, reminding people to stay focused, stay focused. So not a great answer for it, but that's at least my thoughts on it. Great question though. Rusty, advice when being away from the gym. A shooting happened nearby and some sketchy stuff has been happening at the gym. Gym was open and coach was missing. Looked undercover cops there too. Wow. Well, definitely, I mean, you know what my answer is. Shadow box. I've had so many boxers, including myself, where just you shadow box your freaking face off, and you shadow box hard. You throw punches like we saw my Mike Tyson study that I love, the last fight that I just put up. Rotate like that when you shadow box. Visualize like I'm talking about an opponent. Shadow box your defense, like you guys that are on the 6-week program with me. We're shadow boxing defense every single day, snappy and quick and specific. You practice combos. We practice combos. We also practice defending combos with head movement, hand defense, and feet. That will 100%, if anything, actually make you better. And it will demand you, touching on Paul's point, it will demand of you focus. You will have to focus. To shadow box and shadow box with intent, it's boring as hell. But if it's hard to do and boring as hell, it means it's going to actually help you more. Great question. Sorry to hear about all the stuff going on in the gym, though. Just out of curiosity, any techniques you've done a complete 180 on after coaching for some time? Dude, that is a great question, Gunnar. Great question. Complete 180. Well, complete 180, that's a hard one. Okay, well, here, I'll try to give you guys some, right? You know, you could say some of them are 180, some of them are not. But every punch needs to be maximal power. That is how I coached initially. That's how I was really raised. And it's not the case. Every time you need to move your head, you need to be throwing a punch. That's like a good idea of a rule, but I definitely don't require that. That's the big things. Yeah. Great question, though. That's something really I appreciate it, man. That's something I want to spend more time exploring. Oh, here we go. So super heavy weight training for boxing. So this is one place where it's like my father, you know, was great with technique, teaching how to throw power, teaching defense and things like that, and preparing really specifically heavyweights for pro boxing, but as well as a lot of other guys. But he's really, really good at that part. And, you know, of course, Bodak, very good coach as well. But we're talking about guys that were really refined with boxing and really specific to boxing. They were not strength and conditioning guys or anything else like that, which of course we have the inverse problem. You have a lot of people that are strength and conditioning guys and they have sports science, blah, blah, blah. And they get into trying to coach boxing and they don't know crap about boxing. And that's a problem. right? So, but it's also a problem the other way when it's like you have someone that only really knows boxing really, really well, and they try to apply that knowledge to other areas. And there's a fallacy, I can't remember what it is, where because you're really good at one thing or a few things, you assume you're really good at other things too, right? So this happens with people that are really good at like a certain type of business, and they'll try to jump into another totally different model of business, and assuming that they're really good at that one model A of business, they assume they're good at model B, right? Same thing happens with like combat sports. Someone is really good at, I don't know, kickboxing. They think they're really good at boxing. I mean, it's possible, but it's not a given, right? So anyway, the idea that you need to lift really, 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 really heavy weights for boxing, not a big fan of it. It's something you could make an argument for. It could be done in a periodized fashion, but you could say that's maybe the biggest 180 is my father was big on lifting heavy weights for boxing. This does help you get stronger. How many rounds should you spend on the bag per week? How many times should you run? Well, how many rounds should you spend on the bag per week? Should you? I would say very few. Very few. It's helpful, but it's not necessary. It is good to make sure you're squeezing in the end of your punches, to know that you're generating force, and to work on certain technical things. But I'm really big on this. A heavy bag does not move like an opponent. Like, show me. I know with AI, right? They did some good things. Let's watch Kwai's little thing here. Stepping in with his shots, nice. A lot of straight shots. But like, you're not gonna be able to work a heavy bag like Kwai just did there, right? And if they show another highlight of anything, it's gonna be different too. But if you AI'd out Kwai's opponent or anybody's opponent, and you just had the guy in the ring boxing and doing everything he does in boxing with movement and punches and everything else, the combinations, blah blah blah, it's gonna look nothing like how you can work on a heavy bag. Nothing like how you can work on a heavy bag. And I know you can have the heavy bag move, do all that stuff, but it's nothing like it. What's the closest thing to it? Shadow boxing. What's second close to that? Maybe like good mitt work. And that's a different thing. Good mitt work is a different thing than just mitt work alone. Great question. And then how often should you run? Dude, I mean, for some people, depending how you titrate it, almost every day, but let's just put a good easy one here. 3 days a week. Give me some running, but look at it this way. I talk about looking at it at weeks. That's actually how runners look at it, is how many miles did you put in this week? Get in 8, 10, 12 miles a week, somewhere around that. So let's just put a 10 on it. So that means a couple days you get 3, or maybe 3 days you get 3 miles, or 2 days you get 3, and the third day you get a 4 miler in, right? Or you get a couple 2 milers in and get a long run in. Being around good pros is great in many ways. The biggest takeaway I've gotten sparring pros and being around them is that they're human beings just like us. Exactly, man. And that's something so big, Paul, man. And so many people, like I know they put these guys up on pedestals. And don't get me wrong, like we should respect people that do special things, right? Like I have a lot of respect for Clarissa Shields and just anybody, man. Like name them, Gervonta Davis, all these current guys, all the past guys, whatever. Shakur Stevens. I don't really like how he boxes, but I have a lot of respect for him for what he's done with boxing. But they're just people. They're just people, and the more you can take them off the pedestal, the more effective you'll be as a boxer against them. The more effective you'll be as a coach against them. And if you want to be the fanboy and put them on the pedestal, then just be ready to be a fanboy the rest of your life. Okay. So if you want to be a fanboy the rest of your life, go do that, right? But I don't think you'll like being a part of this community that we are here talking about this, right? Let's see here. As an amateur, I saw a pro and couldn't imagine that there were anything like us amateurs. Yeah, exactly. Just did the training. Awesome, Joseph. I'm going to go through and check it out. Oh, man. Gunner coming in with the $5 super thanks. Thank you, my man. Going to help me get a cup of coffee. I'm freaking tired as hell today. I don't know why. I got a lot of work in over the weekend. But Nobel syndrome. Yeah, is that what it's called? Might be called that, where you overestimate your ability because you're really good at one thing. Do you ever personally interact with or know much about Jorge Paez? No. Yes. I see Bodak in his corner with the funny haircuts. Yeah, exactly. Nah, I just, I was really young. I wasn't a part of that at all. My dad did, but I didn't have a lot of interaction with him. I heard he's a really good guy, though. Really good guy. Crazy, but a really good guy. My dad or Bodak had some choice to say about a few other champions that he worked with, but not about Paez. He said Paez was really great, and he worked a lot as a cut man for Paez and was in a lot of his camps. Do you think boxing is dying? What do you think about influencer boxing? Personally, I don't like it. That's a great question. Again, I want to give a big bump up to Mr. Gunner for dropping that super thanks, man. You are the man. Gunner and I are training together. Joseph and I are training together. Look forward to the progress together, guys. I'll be looking at the videos right after we're done here with this live. And also, by the way, everybody look out for the book premiere coming out not this Monday, but next Monday, the 14th. The 66 Tactics to Outthink and Outfight Your Opponent. All right, do I think boxing is a dying sport? No, absolutely not, because people even said boxing was a dying sport in the 60s, right? So I don't think it's ever going to die. It doesn't mean like it can die. It could, but I think it goes through enough evolutions. There's different evolutions. Nowadays, I think back in the day of Joe Louis, right? Washed up fighters would do what? They would do pro wrestling. Now, washed up boxers don't do pro wrestling. They do influencer boxing, right? With Jake Paul. And that's fine. Where's it, Logan Paul? No, it's Jake Paul. And, the influencer boxing thing, from knowing business and knowing marketing, Secret Plotter, so not how I feel about it, but knowing the rules of that and the benefits of that, or how it works, rather, the systems, the effects, I do like it. All right. Now, why do I like it? Do I like the product of it? Not really. I don't care. I don't want to watch any of the influencer boxing because it's stupid. And there's enough stupid boxing out there. I don't really want to watch stupid boxing. And if I want to watch some low-level people that don't really quite know what they're doing or are a bunch of newbies, I can just go to the gym and do that because that's what I do. But what it does, though, from a marketing perspective, is it puts people's eyeballs on boxing. And that's really big. Because let's trade it off, my friend. If it was influencer MMA or influencer karate or influencer kickboxing or influencer jiu-jitsu, then there would be an emphasis and a focus on that. So that's in people's minds as a thing they're thinking about. And once you plant something in someone's mind as something they think about, then they're more likely going to interact with that in some way, which includes going to the boxing gym and maybe being a fighter. And that's where a lot of these kids, I know from working with them, they initially are exposed to it through influencer boxing, and then they get into it, and they get into the history of it, and start to really appreciate good, good quality boxing, right? Like fine wine. They start to develop their taste buds, let's say, right? Or good food. And so, yeah, it's a very good thing, I think. And then also, in terms of like Jake Paul specifically, you could say is going to be giving a lot of these old retired fighters great pays outside of like whatever you're like, oh, it destroys their career, right? Or puts a bad end on their career. Yeah, I mean, I know this is true, but that's up to the guy. But it also gives him a great payday. And then also what he's done for women's boxing, I think is really great. And a lot of the fighters that he's working with, I think it's really great. And I've always heard great things about people that have worked with him as far as boxers. And so I got nothing bad to say. I'm not happy it ain't good coach. Let's see. I am excited for your book. Is there any others I should read to improve my IQ or fundamentals? Let's see. Nah, I mean, there probably is, but I don't have a recommendation. A lot of books are funky because they're either like ghost written, it's not even like they're written with some influence by the fighter. It's like Bodak's book, by the way. Chuck Bodak has a book. But if you go through the book, I asked my dad about this too. Did so much in the book, like there's some things about what he talked about, but there's a lot of stuff in the book and stuff that's not stuff that Bodak taught. So it's weird. It's mainly written by some person that didn't know crap about boxing. What do you think about bare knuckle? Personally, I hate it. Seeing those old retired MMA guys or even boxers getting cut up like that because they knew the money just kills me. For what, in my opinion? Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. Just because I'm a big fan of boxing, or trying to be too much of a fan of boxing, but I'm a big advocate for boxing. I like boxing. I like glove boxing. Bare knuckle, I guess they pay a lot because of the danger or the seeming brutality of it. But there we go. That's the problem with bending at the waist too much right there. But Yeah, I'm not too much of a fan of it, and I don't think it gives good attention to boxing. The influencer boxing I like more than bare knuckle boxing. Hot take. Let's see. I was just making the correction there. All right, guys, we got about 30 minutes left to wrap up our broadcast. Watching Dwight gosh, it's been a long day. Dwight Muhammad Kwai with the 1-2-1, snapping his head back, come around the guard, putting back the jab again. I feel like he's going to dig the body. He's just going after the head a lot. This is when Dwight's getting bigger. He definitely should have stayed at 175. He, of course, fought cruiserweight and above. And then he also apparently started having trouble with alcohol during his fight career. I don't know for how long, but he definitely did. And that's obviously probably when he also started gaining all the weight and everything. Paul, how's it going working with those guys up in you're up north, right? How's it going working with them? I'd love to hear an update. Paul has a gym. Forgive me for not remember exactly where it is, but I would love to hear how it is going. Is there an ideal weight class you think per height, like maximum and minimum weight class for someone who is 5'10", etc.? Yeah, within reason. Well, like for instance, like you're picking 5'10", which is a pretty open thing because we can list champions that were 5'10" and probably as small as 120 or 125 or 135. Someone feel free to fact check me there. Maybe that's not the case, but I feel like there's been a 5'10", at least 135 pounder champion. But and then of course there's like Rocky Marciano, who was 5'10" and a half or something like that. Heavyweight champion, of course, he's very small heavyweight, but then of course you got Mike Tyson, who was like probably 5'10" and a half on a good day. So not really. I would say the big thing is when someone is trim and doesn't have bodybuilder style muscles on them, that's around the weight that you should be at, right? If you have a lot of just like all this mass on you from doing too much like bodybuilding style workouts, or if you have all this mass on you from fat, let's try to get down a little bit. That's my big tips right there. What do you weigh right now? What kind of Mexican beef do you think Holyfield ate between Poe and 1 and 2? Love Holyfield, but man, did he get big fast? Yes, he took a lot of drugs. I remember reading in Ring magazine back when I was following that more that there was the doctor that was prescribing drugs, to the steroids and stuff like that, was sending it to someone named Evan Fields, and it was at Holyfield's address. So, of course, that was Evander. Yeah, Floyd Patterson here in the corner. Floyd Patterson, of course, he had he had Tracy Patterson, who became his adopted son. A lot of respect for Floyd Patterson. A great guy. A statesman of boxing. Let's see. I'm actually a fan of bare knuckle. It is brutal and it's gruesome, but it shows you what it's like using boxing for self-defense. How your punches aren't going to land crisp in the street, pace, etc. Yeah, that's true. And I'm really haven't looked into like what is the difference brutality-wise. Obviously, visually, there's a lot more blood and getting cut. There's kind of that idea that people can hit harder with a gloved, fist because they have more protection. But of course, the way that they have the boxers have their kind of wrists and part of their hand wrapped up in bare knuckles, so it's just the knuckle showing. It's almost like a weird little cheat that maybe allows them to hit harder. But I haven't, frankly, done a lot of research on it, so I don't want to speak on it and just be like one of those people who just talks about crap you don't know about. Is creatine useful for boxing? I don't know how much it is, much about it, or how beneficial it would be. So it is beneficial for explosive exercises. So boxing is explosive. It increases, I think, ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Long day. Anywho, so there are benefits with that. Now, of course, there's been so many boxers that are successful that have never taken a creatine, and most boxers don't take creatine. But the one thing that I would also be weary about with creatine is it does create more water retention in the muscle cells, actually. So you might want to not do it for that reason. Now, I have heard about different ideas of cycling it, where you can take it for a period of time and then cycle off of it, so then you can lose the water weight that it gains in the muscle cells or whatever it is, and but still somehow you have elevated levels in your body, and it helps. I'm not sure, but really, my friend, the best performance enhancer besides like proper sleep and training hard over time is probably that's legal is caffeine, right? Of course, like drugs and things like that, like illegal sports drugs are helpful, but they have long-term side effects, things like that. But caffeine is one of the best, from my understanding, and that's something to look at. Now, if you don't assimilate caffeine very well, then don't. But like I assimilate caffeine really well, and so if you do, great, use it. But remember, man, proper sleep, and training over time, very, very important. Building up an aerobic base, too, very important. Underutilized. Reminds me how dangerous boxing can be. Keeps me restrained. Yeah, totally, man. All that stuff's dangerous as hell, man. Think about it, too. You get hit in a street fight and you fall down. You don't fall down on a canvas. You fall down with your head on the concrete. Bad time. Right. Yes, sir. Going great, man. Oh, here, Paul talking about his work up north. I'm working with a pro that's ranked number 9 in Canada right now, and my amateur should be fighting in November. Gym's not open fully yet, but we're close. Awesome. Man, I'd love to know what's holding you back right now, or like what you're working on to get it open. But that's awesome. What weight is your pro, Paul? Love it, brother. Which boxers would you recommend for a complete beginner to study the fundamentals? Great question. So I really lean to. I mean, there's so many, right? There's so many. So anyone I say, you can chirp in with other people. But Joe Louis is someone that Chuck Bodak would always say, and I definitely agree with that. Joe Louis is just a good, solid, because that's really when boxing, in his opinion, and in my opinion, became really revolutionized and refined as a sport, is with Joe. So Joe Louis, and since he's a heavyweight, it's a little bit easier to see things. So that'd be one guy. Another guy, again, just kind of going the heavyweight world. I like his Evander Holyfield a lot because, he wasn't like the fastest guy. He was tough, but he wasn't the fastest and just like most athletic guy as a heavyweight. And so a lot of that is good technique through defense with Georgie Benton and stuff like that. Good, solid stuff. Touching on Georgie Benton, great one as well. And then, of course, you got to look at the greats like Sugar Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray Leonard. It's hard to go wrong with those two Sugar Rays. The guy that the first fighter I took from 0 to something, he ended up being 12-0 as a pro before he, retired from boxing. But I had him just watch Sugar Ray Robinson over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. That's basically all he watched. A little bit of Holyfield too. Great question. The gym name is Blue Collar Boxing, and we are in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia. That's awesome. Blue Collar Boxing. Love it. Go check it out, guys, if you're around BC. How should a taller southpaw implement your multi-jab strategy? I find it hard to jab with the opponent's lead hand in the way. Hold on, let me pull up another Dwight Muhammad Qawi fight.
Dwight Muhammad Qawi, a.k.a.
Man's quality's even better. Not really. Short one.
And Rossman needed a last-round miracle KO. So at this point in Goldman's career...
Oh, here. Rich the Fight Historian. Great.
Oh, this was Aaron.
Great channel. We'll have that playing in the background. All right. Is that not full screen? Now it's full screen. All right, cool. Taller southpaw. Okay, well, so don't always try to land And also, man, it's funny. You literally are the antithesis of someone that should have trouble if you're opposite stance. What do I mean by that? If you're a shorter southpaw or shorter opposite stance, believe it or not, it's harder to establish a jab because the other person can keep their lead hand out and interfere with that. All right. So let's remember, if we jab first, now you're dominating their lead hand, making it so they can't jab. Now they can only throw their right hand. All right. Using that jab to go over their lead hand or under the lead hand, or jabbing off to your right side around the lead hand. All right. Or jabbing off to your left side and get the inside angle on it. Right. But typically jabbing off to your right side as the longer southpaw, basic foundational stuff. Double jabs, triple jabs off to your right side as a southpaw to line up your left hand or your right hook and things like that. Jabbing high and low, typically over the top, and be the first to jab. Catch your jab or brush their jab down, come over it, bam. But typically establish the jab, be the first one. And then they gotta work through a year-long stick. And at the very least, they're not going to do anything. And don't be so greedy that you feel like you have to land all your jabs. Your jabs are not only a landing weapon, but also a defensive weapon, a rhythm disruptor, controlling range, so many things. Let me know if that helps. It's a great question. Hello, world. I am 20 years old with one amateur fight. I really like counterpunching. Do you have any fighters I should study? My coach doesn't want me to adopt the Philly shell. Is Paul okay? So, Felix, listen to your coach. Floyd Mayweather did not start doing what he does at age 30 when he was 20 years old as an amateur, or what, I don't know, maybe he turned pro when he was 20, but when he was amateur at your level, when he was amateur with one fight, Felix, he was not doing he hadn't honed into a specific style. Forgive me, because this is not about like this martial art, but this is just the easy martial art with levels to it that I feel like it's a good contextual understanding, okay? And I've been doing this martial art, so it's helpful for me to like kind of use it as a tool to relate people to boxing, all right? Even though I'm a complete amateur with it. So with jiu-jitsu, you have white belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt, okay? The way it's described to me from someone who is the same knowledge level as I am on boxing, they are that with jiu-jitsu, is the white belt, you get the foundations down, or you learn how to defend yourself, really. Blue belt, you learn how to attack. Purple belt, you learn your style. You refine your style. Now, how long has it taken each one of these levels? For a lot of people, it's 6 months, a year as a white belt, 6 months, a year or longer as a blue belt, and then your purple belt, and then your brown belt, and you're refining your style continually from purple belt onward to black belt. Same thing goes for you with boxing, my friend. You are a white belt. Just get the foundation down. Maybe blue belt, kind of, sort of, not really yet, but kind of. Focus on just getting the basics down, your attacks, your defense, everything. That is what you focus on. Do not shoehorn yourself into a style that now you are stuck in. By the way, the greatest fighters in general are fighters that can adapt and that are versatile. Think about your boy Floyd Mayweather, okay? I'm assuming you're talking about Floyd Mayweather here, but obviously you're probably talking about other people, but he's a classic modern example of the Philly shell, whatever thing, which is just classic boxing. Is because James Toney did it. He did the Michigan shoulder roll, which is the Philly shell. So that's all the same stuff. The Detroit, whatever. So, but think about someone like Mayweather. As an amateur, he fought one way. Watch it. If you haven't watched it, watch it. So you know that I know what I'm talking about here. He fought a certain way as an amateur. Fight more how he fought as an amateur. Watch his first so and so many pro fights. Watch how he fought then. It's not quite how his last 5, 10 years of boxing when he's in his 30s. But then also, too, watch how he spars some of his guys. Watch how he fought, not very good boxer Conor McGregor. He did a different style with that. He is versatile, far more than you realize. Build up versatility. You are too new to this thing to shoehorn yourself into one style. You need to learn broad foundations. I really appreciate the question, Felix. I look forward to your success. Listen to your coach. Creating is great for brain health, too. Creatine. Okay. Is it? Cool. Maybe I need some of that, dude. Okay, creatine also has neurological protection, and there's studies that say it can help memory and even maybe minimize CTE and brain damage. Are you serious? Wow. I need to look further into this stuff, guys. Thank you. Thank you for those tips. See, that's what I love about coaching, guys, and doing this thing is like, I learn through teaching, right? That's how I learn stuff that I know and reinforce it, but also through interacting with great people like yourself and great community that we have here. Do you struggle to host a gym in such a small town, Paul? Only 2,400 people seems like it would be rough to get enough customers. There are 2,400 people in your town? Huh. That's not a lot of people. Yeah, so like I've, opened up many boxing gyms across the Southeast, in Georgia. Man, look at Prior Go here. And Southeast and Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida. And we look for places that are over 50,000 people in an area. So the answer would be yes. I think it is hard, but Paul, feel free to share your thing. Yeah, I'm thinking about using it to gain weight. 5'7", 125. Cool. Rusty, what's your goals with boxing? I'm curious. Remind me. I know you've told me before. When we were open before COVID, I had 80 members. Nice. Nonprofit. Cool. Nonprofit in theory sounds good, but you got different regulatory things you got to deal with. I consider doing a nonprofit just for the hell of it, just to pay less taxes, but got to have a board and all this other stuff, So it's all trade-offs, right? What I'm waiting on is the bathroom being finished. Being in a small town, it takes forever to get plumbers, etc. I should be open 3 months. I should have been open 3 months ago. Wow, sorry to hear that. Great stuff, guys. I gotta go run class later, fellas. Awesome, Rocket Paul, you're the man. Enjoy the Tyson studies you're doing. I hope you can go over some Duran fights soon. He's easily my favorite boxer. Yes, I can tell because it looks like you really like grappling, and it's a classic thing with Duran. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate the tips. Yes, absolutely, my friend. Okay, I'll focus on the foundation. Awesome. Yeah, trust me, man. Believe me, if you're gonna believe anything I say, a few years from now, you look back on this. Hopefully, maybe you won't even remember probably, but if you did look back on it, you're going to be like, man, I'm happy I listened to that, right? I'm happy I listened to my coach. I'm happy I listened to Coach Keith. Awesome, champ. When do you think someone should take a fight? Is there such thing where there are events where they don't go full force, but kind of in between with sparring to actual fights? Yes. This is a great question. Great question. Okay, so this is what sparring is. This is sparring, but here's the in between. All right, so you have. Forgive me. Were you saying your gym was locked, was shut down, or was that somebody else? I'm sorry, dude. I'm just like, my brain is fried. So this is how we do it. We do in-house sparring with our own team. Meaning that if you were to come to our gym and be a part of our team, you train, you start sparring, and you spar with other team members. So therefore it's other people, we're all on the same team, and we're all here to take care of each other. That, doesn't mean like it's super easy sparring, but it's sparring with a certain intentionality behind it. Then you show that you can, defend yourself, and you're in proper shape and everything else, and you can attack as well. Then we will take you to another gym, to other gyms where they don't know you, they don't care about you. And of course, we'll, make sure we moderate it a little bit, but in that situation, you might go against someone that has fights and things like that, have a few fights, stuff like that. And it's people you will come across on the circuit at your level, which is 0, and you go in there. But what's great about that though, is like, no matter how tough it is, we can stop it at any point in time and it's not a loss. And take a break, go back in there later that night or whatever, and get some more work in with the same guy, right? Versus if it's a fight, you're doing all this like waiting. You get up there, you fight for 3 rounds and it's over. And you won, you lost, right? But with this type of stuff, you're able to go in there, get that fight feel, and go in there and do it again and make it right that night, maybe, or at least the next week. And that helps you get ready for that pressure, and that's that in between. So it is full force typically. But again, it's a sparring session. So what does that mean? You stop a sparring session about 5 or 10 seconds more than you stop a real fight. and you also have the availability to just take a knee. If you got to pause, and also you can retire between rounds. You can do 2 rounds and be like, man, this is I can't handle this. And be like, take that break. Or, if you have a good coach that you trust, which we should all have that. That's what I do my best to be for my people. If I know they had enough for 2 rounds and they're getting really clipped, okay, that's it. That's it right now, Secretive Planner. Let's take a break. We'll get back in there and maybe do a couple more rounds a little. So, hope that answers the question, my friend. All right. It ain't no question, but I really do love your content. Thank you, my man. My favorite video is about getting loose. Yes, man. That's my first video that really blew up on this channel. I love to have you as my coach. Keep posting and I'll keep watching. Thank you, my man. Yeah. Always, get the gems, man. Get the gems. And that's why I do this, is for people like you, Felix, man. Because I was talking to another YouTuber that I know some of you guys watch, a boxing coach. And, he's talking about why he got on YouTube. And he's like, dude, because a lot of the boxing advice on YouTube was stupid. And I was like, man, it's kind of the reason I do it too. I feel like there's a lot missing. And so I feel like I've been blessed to give a positive impact. And so has he. And so it's a great thing. That's why we do what we do. Any boxers you think a grappler would like or should maybe? Great question. I mean, I think you got it, man. The guy that you asked about is the guy. The guy that you asked about is the guy. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones. Huh. So that's not quite coming to mind. Where's your gym? Athens, Georgia is where I am stationed out of. That's where my gym is. Oh, Serial Master, what is up? Can you talk about leading with your fist when you punch? I remember in your video about being unpredictable, you said to lead a little with your fist, then throw your body into the punch. Also, hello. Yes, what is up? Love your profile pic. So yeah, what more would you like me to expand upon that? But basically, it's the idea, and you'll see it with. You actually kind of saw it, in my opinion, a little bit with Pryor just now. But that's how these high-level guys, good amateurs and pros, will be able to land these shots on you don't even see coming, versus you can see a lower level person or beginner person throw, is because they'll kind of lead with your body and then the fist kind of follows, specifically with like a jab and things like that. But being able to just have that, imagine that someone tied a string to your fist and yanked it out from you and throw like that, and the body follows afterwards. And that's how you get those shots off. If you've ever been in the ring with someone like far more experienced than you, and they're able to hit you with shots you don't see coming. And if you work someone's defense, this is a great way to do it, right? Maybe get in the ring with someone bigger than you. And maybe just practice them defending your jab and play with this a little bit on just shooting a jab and leading with the arm first and just acting like someone pulled your arm to their face. And you'll be amazed with how a lot of people can't see it. It's pretty hard to see. My goals are to go to the gym more consistently and hopefully get an amateur fight next summer or when I'm ready. Right now, I'm trying to work on my mindset. Okay, so Rusty, cool. Thank you so much for those facts. You are 125 and you said you were what? 5 whatever? 5'7". Yes. You are 125 and you are 5'7". You are perfect. You are perfect. I have one guy that's 5'7", 125, and I have another guy that's 5'6", 5'5", 125, 120. You are perfect. Don't add weight. Become a freaking badass. Okay? You're perfect. Don't worry about gaining weight or anything else. You are perfect. Go get it, Rusty. Unless you want to just be bigger, and that's fine too. But if you want to be an amateur, dude, you're perfect. I used to not be scared of sparring, but recently CTE has been a big worry of mine. How much should I care for that? So you're 20 years old, you said. Well, biggest thing, my friend, is try to focus on not getting hit so much, which just means being mindful of your defense, being smart, but at your age with a healthy immune system, giving yourself definitely a week between sparrings, sometimes taking a couple weeks between sparrings is helpful. So at most, maybe twice a week sparring for times, maybe getting ready for a fight sometimes, but then drop it back down to once a week, once every 2 weeks, and be really mindful of that. But other than that, that's fine. You're fine. There's an inherent risk, man. When you get in the car and you drive your car or you ride in a car, you're actually in more danger. So just keep that in mind. But with everything, there are definitely risks involved. Yes, this is true. The CTE, well, and when you say later though in life, so I know somebody that has CTE when they were in their late 30s because they got hit a lot from like a younger age. And, I'm pretty sure there was actually like specifically diagnosed that they had CTE, and they had also, I guess, along with that, post-concussive syndrome, and they ended up freaking out and shooting themselves. And it was a horrible situation. So it's something to always be mindful of, to watch out for. And there is an inherent risk. But this person fought 30 professional fights. Their style was a style that absorbed a lot of punches. So that's why I'm not big on doing a style that absorbs a lot of punches. We don't all have to fight like Core Stevenson, but we also don't have to all fight like we're Arturo Gatti either. There's a happy in between. When I hear a throw with the whole body, I just assume the fist goes last. Not sure why, when jab is about the only time I lead with the fist, mostly because I watched all your jab videos. So thanks. Yeah. And the same thing can happen with the right hand. Yo said, man, I'm sorry for saying this now. You feel free to comment it earlier, my man. So, dude, just upload those videos up to YouTube. That's what like Gunner and all the other guys do. And then put it in. Okay. Maybe it was the quality of the video or whatever. Maybe it was like a higher quality perhaps. But so yeah, just upload the video to YouTube and just throw it right in there for the link, or you just put the link in the messenger, man. So sorry, you'll get used to it, man. But like Gunner, Pino, Chris, a lot of the people I work with, man, that's what they do for the longer videos. And also you can do like maybe like the first round as well, or the last round, things like that. Feel free to ask that question sooner, Joseph, or message me, dude, on the app, man. I'm happy to be there. I'm always there on the app for people that I work with. Joseph is working with me one-on-one, and I'm excited to see your progress, Joseph. CTE mostly happens because pros do such copious amounts of highly intense sparring. I wouldn't worry about it if you're being controlled, hydrated, and sparring once a week or less. This is generally true. Very good, Zuko. Very good. Yes. Generally agreed. And also, yeah, the hard sparring and the hard fights, like all together. Forgot to add, I've been boxing at my gym for a year, and 90% of the people there that I train and spar with are bigger or have more experience. Okay. But what you're saying, though, man, is that you go out there and you fight as a 125 and you'll be able to walk through all these little mojos, right? That's definitely a possibility. We're about to wrap it up here, guys. So feel free, if you enjoy this, to drop a super thanks like Gunnar did. And Joseph, if you those videos up that way, also message me on the True Coach. And look at this. Pryor just won the fight. Stop the guy. Do you have any advice about footwork and explosive exercises to be elusive as Prince Nassim Hamed or Ali? Besides being light on the feet, not really. Prince Nassim Hamed, like, I'm sorry, but really no. Prince dominated Britain, but then when he came over to the States, Marco Antonio Barrera beat him up, made him quit boxing. Muhammad Ali, of course, insanely tough. As a heavyweight, that footwork was phenomenal. But again, it goes back to just moving around the ring. That's all. Because trust me, there's nothing special that Ali did, Prince Nassim Hamed did, or anything. They did everything as you do right now. They jump roped, they shadow boxed, they did bag work. And that's it. There's no like secret to it. It's just moving around, experimenting with the moving. But I implore you to be more like a Willie Pep, maybe Muhammad Ali, but more like a Willie Pep, because that's what really Ali based his movement off of. Sugar Ray Robinson a little bit, Sugar Ray Leonard. That's a more full style. Hamed, not so much. That's why I didn't have long-term success. Appreciate it, Rusty. All right, guys, we'll wrap it up with that. Hope everybody has a great night. And remember, this coming Monday, guys, not today, but next Monday, the 14th, that book drops. Really excited about it. And I'll see y'all on the next live or the next video. I got a video coming out this Wednesday that's about like coaching and things like that. The different framework for coaching and teaching. So make sure you watch out for that. Oh, here, really quick. Prince, what's a beginner way to pivot inside in regards to footwork to square opponent's feet? Open stance. I'm southpaw. They're orthodox. I'm trying to slip inside, stepping with back foot. Sorry, Prince, I'm not quite following you. My biggest question to you too would be what is the point, right? What's a beginner way to pivot inside in regards to footwork to square your opponent's feet? Worry about landing punches more than that. I appreciate the question though, Prince. I'd have to see a video of what you're asking about. And it sounds like you're a little bit too like shoehorning yourself into one thing. Like, dude, step to the outside of the foot with the left hand. Get a right hook to the body. Jab off to that side. Make angles off to that side. Step to the inside of the foot with your jab to land a clean jab down the middle. And you can slip off to your left side, spin off that way, right? Slide off that way. Let me know if that helps, man. All right. We're wrapping it up on that. Have a great night, everybody.